Hi, welcome back. I have been keeping journals since I was 8 years old, and my first entry dates from a long time ago. Today, I want to go over all the journals and Commonplace books that I have active at the moment. I have my tea ready. I'm currently drinking a black tea with marzipan. I don't know how to say it in English actually. With fruits and pieces of almond and rose petals. Now, this is my main journal, which I'm going to show you in a minute, but I also have some Commonplace books that I started this year. If you're not familiar with the concept of a Commonplace book, this is a journal where you write down valuable things that you want to remember. If you're a reader like me, you could collect, for example, quotes or knowledge you gathered from books, but it could also be recipes or anything that you are passionate about and that you want to remember. The main goal is to record things that we want to reread and look back on and browse through. It is a book of knowledge, and we gather so much information every day, but eventually we forget so much of it. Starting is very simple. You just start to write down everything that jumps out, everything that you want to remember. For example, when you're watching a movie and there's a great line, press pause, grab your Commonplace book and write it down. You can also write things in your own words and journal about ideas or quotes that you have collected. If you write things down when you read a book, it makes you a slow reader, slower, but that's okay. If you are uncomfortable about reading slow, don't worry. In time, you will realize that it's better to read well than to fly through your books and not get anything out of them. All right, let me just take a sip. I used to focus on numbers too much. The more books that I could read, the more proud I felt about myself. And I am quite ashamed now remembering the old me. What's also nice about a Commonplace book is that when you feel bored or when you want to do something, you can, instead of scrolling through social media, you can grab your Commonplace book and just go through the pages and get inspiration from them. So I'm going to go over my different types of journals. This one is my main journal, which I use to write in like every day or every other day or once a week, depending on whether or not I feel the need to write something down. And this is also the journal that I use to keep memories. So I'm not going to show too much of it because it's very personal, and I just write things down that I cannot say out loud, and I just reflect on certain topics and certain things. And these come with, this is just a leather cover like this, with an elastic, and I just insert new journals. So whenever one is full, I just started a new one, but whenever one is full, I can just insert it with the elastic and put it in here. I just finished my 2023 journal and I just marked it in the right corner. So whenever I want to go look inside my boxes for my year of 2023, which is going to happen quite a lot, I think, because this was an amazing year for me and I cannot wait to look back on this one. It was also the year I got married, and it was just an amazing year. I also traveled to New Zealand. For example, I want to show you some pages, even though it's very personal. I do want to show you some pages. So I stick in everything that I want to keep and that I want to look back on. So, for example, this page was a page from our travels to New Zealand, which was our honeymoon, and I just keep tickets and little things, and I just stick them into my journal. For example, this one too. I also grab some folders whenever they have them. For example, this was from Zealandia, and I just grabbed a bunch of folders and I cut things out and then I stick it into my journal. And I of course also write about my travels, but I'm not going to be showing that. Also have my plane tickets and all kinds of stuff that I just want to keep and that I want to look back on in a few years. For example, this is how I write. I just put pictures everywhere, and then I write and put stickers and, make it a little prettier. And yeah, this is how I journal. Now, I used to put everything in here. I used to write about the books that I was reading, reflect on them, recipes that I wanted to hold on to. Everything went into this book, which is fine, but it got a little complicated when I wanted to find things quickly. So this year I decided to pick the topics that I wanted to learn more about or that I wanted to look back on. And I chose different notebooks for those topics, and I will be filling them from this year on, and not everything will go into this one. I will just divide everything over separate notebooks, which is kind of the concept of a Commonplace book. I've always liked writing down my thoughts, and I don't think I will ever stop. It's nice to look back on everything that happened and just go through the pages. And whenever a notebook is full, I just replace it with a new one. I have a box full of stickers, and I also have a bunch of washi tapes that I use. I'll just quickly show them to you. So these are the washi tapes that I use. I use them to stick in flowers or pictures, or to make the pages a little bit more colorful. I also like writing with fountain pens. At the moment I have 3 fountain pens. This one is from Kaweco. How do you say that? It's a Kaweco Sport pen, and it's a fine nib. This one was a little bit more expensive, but I really fell in love with the marble design. I can't remember where I bought it. It was online, but I cannot remember the store. It's a bit uncomfortable to write with, but it is very pleasing to the eye. This one was also a little bit more expensive. It's very glittery and shiny, very comfortable to write with, and it is based on a painting by Monet. It came with this, so I can just put my pen in there and store it. So yeah, those are my pens. Now let me show you my Commonplace books for this year. First of all, I decided which topics I am passionate about and which topics I want to learn more about. The first topic was Victorian life. The second, writing, because as an author, I gather as much knowledge as I can on the craft of writing. Third one is books. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love journaling about what I read. And then the fourth topic is French history and French art, literature, anything that has to do with France. Then I have one for social media, and then I have a book for recipes. So let me show you the first one. The first one is on Victorian life. And I decided to go with this one. This is a cover, absolutely stunning, that I bought in New Zealand. I saw it in this cute secondhand store, and it was love at first sight. I knew that I had to have it. And so let me show you the inside. So it's obviously used, so there's a lot of scratches, but I'm fine with it. And I just picked a blank notebook that fitted. This was just a very cheap one. And it's not lined, so I don't know how that will go, but we'll see. I already filled the first pages with some research about the Victorian era and reading. There are also some pouches here with a pencil. That's really cute. And here there's also a pouch. I think one should really put the cover of the notebook in the pouch, but it doesn't really fit well, so I just decided to use it like that. All right, so that's my Commonplace book on Victorian life. This one I dedicated to the craft of writing. So as an author, I find it very important. This one is from Paper Blanks. I love the brand Paper Blanks, and I loved the Michelangelo design. So yeah, I cannot wait to get started in this. I actually haven't written down anything yet, but I need to transfer a lot of information that I have typed on the computer, and I'm going to put this into this book. So whenever I learn something about the craft of writing, I will put it into this book. This one is my reading journal. This is a notebook that I have been using for a while now. Since it's not really that personal, I can show you a little bit on the inside. So this is where I write about the books that I read. So like I said, I used to keep those in my main journal, but I wanted things to be a bit more organized and decided to use a separate notebook for this. So here you can see I write down the title of the book and the author of the book on the top of the page, and then I just write down my thoughts on the book that I am reading. Since I'm always reading multiple books at the same time, I often have a blank page because I want to write something about another book, and then I need to calculate how much pages I will need to write down my thoughts, and it's sometimes very difficult to make an estimation. I also always try to write down the start date and the finishing date of a book that I'm reading, just to know how much time it took me to actually read it. All right, then I have my Commonplace book for France, for French history, for French literature and art, which is going to be this one. This was a gift from my parents. It has a beautiful fleur de lis on the front. I love it. And I never thought I would actually use it to write because it's so beautiful, and I always have a difficult time writing in books that are too beautiful. But yeah, look at those details. It's so pretty. It's also unlined, so yeah, we'll see how that goes, because I usually use notebooks that are lined, but I cannot wait to get started on this one. This is my Commonplace book that I will be using for everything that I learn about social media. It is also from Paper Blanks. All their notebooks feel so Victorian, and I love it. This is a quite simple design, and yeah, I cannot wait to get started. This is a notebook that I will be using to keep all the recipes that I liked. So I still need to get started on this because I have a lot of printouts that I put in here. But I just need to start copying them on the page and write them down. The final notebook that I have is also one by Paper Blanks. And this is the notebook that I use for learning French. French is my second language, and it is quite okay. Like, I read books in French, but I'm trying to improve to get it even better, because classic literature French is not easy. Like, one could say that my French is good enough for everyday life, but I fell in love with French authors in classic literature. French authors are my favorite, and I want to be able to just read them in their original French. But like, the old classic literature French is not that easy to read. And so I'm trying to get my French to the next level, you know. And this is a notebook that I use to write down vocabulary, and, well, I'll show you. So I'll just write down words that I want to remember. I also record them on my phone and listen to them in dead moments. Like, for example, when I'm washing my face at night, or when I'm brushing my teeth, I just listen to the recordings of these words and try to remember them. All right, so these were all my notebooks. I hope it wasn't too boring. I know this is a channel about books, but it is something that I am also very passionate about. So I hope you found it interesting and inspiring. I think everyone should at least try to keep a commonplace book, and gather all the things that you want to look back on. I sometimes really wonder what will happen to my journals when I'm no longer here. But I hope they can be an inspiration to whomever ends up with them. Oh, I also forgot to mention that in this book, I've always been keeping quotes from the books I read, like quotes that I absolutely love. Like this is from Anna Karenina, for example. It's worse for the guilty than for the innocent. So this is all Anna Karenina. This is Thérèse Raquin, which is a novel from Émile de Zola. To Kill a Mockingbird, Cousin Bet, Wuthering Heights, Emma, Macbeth. I just keep my favorite quotes in here. As for my main journal, where I write down my thoughts and keep my memories, I sometimes just don't want to talk to anyone, but do want to spill my thoughts. There are certain things that I cannot express in conversation and that I can only tell paper, which is why I love journaling so much. If you aren't journaling yet, then I really hope that you give it a try. It is really rewarding. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week.